In the last class we have seen some examples. Okay, we can create any number of triggers. We can create any number of triggers, but 12 is the maximum number of different combinations. Different combinations, maximum number of different combination of triggers we can create on a single table. Okay, so how many triggers we have? Like so the row level trigger, row level trigger and statement level trigger, row level trigger and statement level trigger. So there is a difference between row level and statement level trigger. Okay, so the row level trigger executes for every row it affects. It executes for every row it affects. It executes only once. It executes only once. Okay, only one. It executes only once. So we have like a before trigger and after trigger. Before and after. Before means so it executes before executing your statement. Before execution of your statement. Before execution of your statement. This executes after execution of your statement. So the trigger and the corresponding event. Event in the sense is like a insert or update or delete. Insert, update or delete. Delete. So executes in the same transaction. Executes in the same transaction. That means if a trigger fails, the major statement is also going to fail. If a corresponding event, so if an insert statement fails, your trigger is going to fail. If a trigger fail, your main insert or update or delete statement is going to fail. Executes in the same transaction. Okay, so now so we have seen a raise application error also. We have seen raise application error. So it's a procedure. It's a procedure for stopping the or it's a causing a failure. It causes a failure in your trigger. So it accepts the two parameters, the user defined error number and a message. User defined error number and a message. So that message is it displays that message as a predefined exception. Okay, let's see. Now we can have any number of triggers. Okay, let's see. I'm going to give some examples. Please note down this concept. Okay, but that is not a good idea to write like this. Okay, create or replace trigger ABC on EMP. Okay, so before update ABC, before update on EMP, for each row. Okay, let's see. Before update on EMP, so begin. Here I am writing a code, and ABC is a trigger which executes on EMP. Okay, here I have some code, so I'm writing another trigger. I'm writing another trigger ABCD. Same before update on EMP begin. So it's a here it is another code. So now I am writing another trigger XYZ. So on EMP, so here, which trigger is going to execute a first? So here, my question is, see, three triggers ABC, ABCD and XYZ. I have three triggers on same table with the same operation, right? So now I'm executing update EMP salary is equal to salary plus 100. So I'm incrementing the salary by 100. Set update EMP, set salary is equal to salary plus 100. So which trigger is going to execute it first? Okay, so here I have an update statement. Okay, so now whenever you are updating a record, Oracle try to find what are the triggers on the table employee. Yes, we have an update trigger. Before update, before update, before update. On EMP, I have a 3 triggers. So which trigger is going to execute? Right? That's very important. Execute first out of ABC, ABCD and XYZ, because all 3 triggers are, is it a good practice to write triggers like this? Practice of writing triggers on same table for same event. Same event. Right. So which trigger is going to execute first? So answer is the Oracle not guarantees the order of execution of a trigger in this case, because you have a multiple triggers on same table with the same event, same timing also. Okay, if you have a multiple triggers, please note down this point. If you have a multiple triggers on same table for a same event for same timing, then Oracle not guarantees the execution of an order. So Oracle can execute ABC or ABCD or XYZ or XYZ, ABCD, ABC or ABCD, XYZ and ABC. So there is no guarantee. Okay, there is no guarantee. Execute trigger order. So there is no guarantee. That's a very important. Okay, is it a good practice of writing the triggers on same table for a same event with the same event with the same timing? Right? No, it's not a good practice, because see here, for update statement, Oracle execute 3 triggers. So additionally, you are along with this update statement, you are executing 3 additional programs, additional objects you are going to execute, which is not at all required. So is it a good practice? No. Oracle recommends to combine code into a single trigger. Single trigger. So whenever you have a multiple triggers of same event on same table with the same timing, so then Oracle recommends to combine the code into single trigger. So Oracle not guarantees the order of execution of the triggers. Is everybody is clear these 2 points? Everybody is clear? Yes or no, please? Okay, the second point. So now I'm going to write another trigger. Okay, I'm writing a trigger. So A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D, E, F is the one trigger. Before update on EMP, this is the another trigger. Okay, let's see. A, B, C, D, E, F before update on EMP. For each row, this is one trigger. I already have a trigger before update on XYZ. Now, this is the one trigger. A, B, C, D, E, F is a row level trigger, and XYZ is a statement level trigger. And I'm writing a ABC 1, 2, 3 after update. It's a different. sample 1 2 3 after update on EMP for each row. So now I have 4 triggers. ABCDEF is one trigger, XYZ is one trigger, ABC 1 2 3 is one trigger, and sample 1 2 3 is another trigger. One trigger on employee table before update for each row, one trigger on XYZ with before update, and one trigger on after update and EMP, and a create or replace trigger with the after update. So in this case, which trigger is going to execute first and which trigger is going to execute next? Okay, anybody have any guess? Just guess it. So this can be guessed easily. So which trigger is going to execute first out of these 4? Any idea? Any guess? Anybody? Anybody? Any idea? Please guess it. Before trigger. Before trigger. Okay. But here I have a before 2 triggers. Yes, you are right. But before I have a 2. Yes. First it executes XYZ trigger. Okay, let's see. Okay. Now, first Oracle executes all before statement triggers. First it executes all before statement triggers. So it can execute all before statement level triggers. Okay. Loop for each row affected. Okay. Right? Each row it affected. Now, so what is that one in the second option? So now executes all before row level triggers. Row level triggers. And the second option is it executes all after row level triggers. Row level triggers. And finally it executes all after a row level trigger. Sorry, after statement triggers. See, this is the order of execution of a trigger. So first it executes all before statement triggers. Okay, first Oracle executes all before statement triggers. And then second statement is loop for each row affected. So it executes before statement level triggers. Sorry, before row level triggers. So then it executes after row level triggers. And then it executes finally all your statement triggers. Everybody is equal. This is called as a, okay, this is called as a the trigger execution model. This is very important. So how the order of the trigger execution is important. So how it is going to execute? First it executes before statement level trigger, and it executes all before row level trigger, then it executes after row level trigger, and finally it executes all after statement triggers. Everybody is a clear? Yes or no, please? Please let me know. So now let's see. Okay. Now, so now so now I have in the last class I have seen a one trigger. Okay. So now restrict DML operations on. So I have a trigger. So what is this trigger for? So now I'm going to modify the trigger a little bit more. See here, what is the use of this trigger? This trigger is going to stop the DML operations on employee table. So when it is going to stop, it is going to stop either before 9 o'clock or after 5 o'clock. Okay, but so this trigger is going to execute for insert operation or update operation or delete operation. Let's see. So now this I know this trigger was already there. Now I'm delete from EMP where department number is equal to 10. I'm deleting the data. See, I got an output. You cannot do the DML operations during the non-working hours. You cannot do the DML operations during the non-working hours. So this is my output. Okay. So now I'm updating the data. Update EMP set salary is equal to salary plus 100. So now I'm executing update EMP set salary is equal to salary plus 100. So now I got the same output. Now I got the same output. So whenever I do the insert also, insert into EMP also, I'll get the same information. Okay, if I give the same information also, I'll get the same output. Let's see, the same trigger is executing for all three operations because I created a single trigger with either insert or update or delete. See here. So you cannot do the DML operation during the non-working hours. You cannot do the DML operations using the non, but I don't want like this. Okay, the output is, I want the output like this. You cannot update or insert or delete. I want this output. I want this output. So based on the event, I want this either update or insert or delete. Okay, so I want to write either update or insert or delete. So how can I do it? I want to write a message. I want to see, okay, within the trigger body, in the trigger body, I want to see for which event currently the trigger code is executing. Okay, so for which event, so that means this piece, whatever I have between declare, begin and end, so this piece can execute for insert, can execute for update, can execute for delete, but I want to see the operation for which this trigger is executing. Okay, how can I do it? The first option is I can write a 3 triggers, so one for insert, one for update and one for delete. Let's see. So the first solution is, the solution one is I can restrict DML. Solution is we can write 3 triggers. 3 triggers for 3 different events. Different events. Okay, let's see. EMP insert. Okay. Before insert, so you cannot do insert operation. That's the one solution. And the second one is EMP update. You cannot do update operation. Okay, and I can write another trigger like a before delete. Delete. So we cannot do delete operations. See this one, 3 triggers. We can write 3 different triggers, but is it a good idea? Right? Do you want to write 3 triggers? Is it a good idea? Do you think it is a good idea or bad idea? Anybody guess it's a good idea or bad idea? Yes, obviously it's a bad idea. Why unnecessarily I have to write a 3 code? 3 database objects needs to be created, right? I don't want to create like this. So what is the solution? Okay, so using trigger predicate, so we can identify for which event trigger is currently working on, currently is executing. So we can identify for which event trigger is currently is executing. Okay, so using a trigger predicate, we can identify for which event currently a trigger is executing. What is the trigger predicate? So inserting, updating and deleting. We have to use as it is. So inserting, it returns true or false. True or false. If true means trigger is executing because of insert operation. Operation. So this is also returns true or false. Because of update operation. So we have to use as it is. So it returns true or false because of delete operation. So we have to see for which event the trigger is executing. Okay, inserting or updating or deleting. So we can write a single trigger, and within the trigger body, using these predicates, we can find the operation. So I'm modifying the same trigger using the trigger predicates. So before insert our operation, so here I'm checking. So v underscore operation, just variable to capture the operation varchar 2 of some 1000. Okay, so now checking the condition. So now here, if inserting, it returns true or false. Then okay, so v underscore operation is equal to insert operation. Else if updating, so then update, else finally delete, or we can use the updating also. Delete. That's it. See here. So now I'm trying to find for which event this trigger is executing currently. So if it returns a true or false, if it is inserting, so the condition satisfied, then I'm assigning a via operation is equal to insert. If it is updating, if it is deleting, so I'm inserting. So now here you cannot do that's it. See here, I'm operation A, I'm displaying that information in the trigger bar. So the trigger compiled. Okay, so now let's see. So delete from EMP where department number is equal to 10. So error. See here, delete operations. So you cannot do the delete operations during the non-working hours. Similarly, if I execute update EMP, set salary is equal to salary plus 100. That's it. So set salary is equal to salary plus 100. Simple. You cannot do the update operation during a non-working hours. That's it. So the same trigger is executing for both operations. So within the trigger body, using this trigger predicates, I'm identifying whether it is the inserting or operation, or it is a updating, or it is a the delete operation. So these are called as a the trigger predicates. These are very important trigger predicates. Everybody is clear? Yes or no, please? Yes or no, please? Yes. So the trigger predicates. Okay. So now let's see. Now I'm going to modify the same concept again. Okay. Now. Okay. So now the trigger. This is the trigger I have. Okay. The restrict DML operations. So the trigger can be enabled or disabled, or we can drop a trigger. Okay. Now I want to make this trigger is a disabled. Alter trigger name. Alter trigger name. enable or disable. Enable or disable. So we can enable or disable. So only enabled trigger will be executed. I'll write another trigger. Alter trigger, trigger name disable. Disable. So now I'm disabling the trigger. So it won't execute. The trigger altered. So the trigger disabled. Let's say delete from EMP where department number is equal to 60. So now I won't get that error message. See, 0 was deleted because the trigger is not executing because it's in the disabled state. Okay, it's in the disabled state. That's why it is not executing. So alter trigger, trigger disabled. So if you want to enable it, we can execute alter trigger, trigger name enable. So enable or disable operation. So enable is for enabling the trigger and disable is for disabling a trigger. Everybody is clear? Yes or no, please? Yes. I want to write a query. First thing is, so now another use case. We have seen the few examples of the trigger. So now we want to see one more use case. Okay, for dropping a trigger also drop trigger, trigger name. But don't drop it. This is the syntax. If anybody want you to drop a trigger, drop trigger, trigger name. Okay. So now we are going to see monitoring operations on a table. On table, or I can say auditing on a table. Auditing on a table. Auditing means, okay, who is inserting, who is updating, and who is deleting. I want to track, okay, I want to track the operations. Which user is updating, which user is deleting, and which user is inserting a data. Okay, let's say I'm writing a table. Create table. I'm creating a new table, but just copy paste this one. Okay, EMP audit log. I'm creating a new table. Okay. So now I'm creating a table called the username. Please observe carefully. Don't worry about the table creation, just copy paste it. Okay, what operation, whether it is a insert or delete or update, and date of operation, date. Okay, now I have a table. Please note down this table. So I created a table. Okay, so now select star from EMP audit log. Okay, so now I want to insert the data into this table. I want to insert the data into this table. So whenever there is an insert or update or delete on employee table. Okay, whenever a Scott, whenever a HR, whenever another user, whenever anybody tried inserting data or updating or deleting the data into this table, I need to capture that information into this table. So username, operation, and date of operation. So I want to capture that information. So how can I do it? Okay, see here. So the simple, okay, for any insert or update or delete statement, whenever they do the insert or update or delete statement, I want to insert a record into this table. That's it. A simple trigger. So whenever any user try to insert or update or delete, so I want to insert a record into this table. That's it. Create or replace trigger EMP audit log underscore trg trigger. Okay, before insert or update or delete on EMP begin end. So here we need to see, I want to insert a record into this table. So how do you get the username? How do you get the username? How do you get the username? How do you get the current username? Show user. But how can I execute the show user? Okay, let's see. That's not a big deal. Okay, so now I want to know the current user. Select user from user into v underscore user from viewer. So the current username, select user from dual. Select user from dual. So if you execute the select user from dual, so it will give you the current username. See, it is the Scott. Okay. If I execute with test, sorry. So here, if I execute this here, I got a Scott. If I execute test from dual, I got test. So that means it gives the current user. Okay. So now how can I get the operation using the trigger predicates? If inserting, so then v underscore op is equal to insert. Else if updating. So then v underscore op is equal to update. So else v underscore op is equal to delete. Now and if. So now the simple is insert into emp audit log. And one thing is, please remember here I'm not writing the exception handling. You need to practice with the exception handling. Values. So I want to insert the values. What is the insert values? V underscore user, v underscore operation, and system date. System date will give you the select. Okay, trigger compiled. Okay, let's see. Now delete from emp where department number is equal to 60. Now Scott is deleting the data. Scott is deleting the data. So now let's see what is the output. 0 rows deleted. So now let's see the records in select star from employee audit log, emp audit log. See here Scott delete operation on 15 June 15. Okay, so now I'm granting permission to test. Grant update on I'm granting update on emp to test. Okay, I'm granting, grant command is for granting a privilege. Update on employee to test. Grant succeed. Now test is going to update the data. Update emp set salary is equal to salary plus 100 where department number is equal to 60. So I'm not updating the row, that's why I'm giving the wrong condition. So here it says that, sorry, Scott dot, because the table is in the Scott schema. Now see 0 rows updated. Now commit here. So now see emp audit log, I have a 2 record. So one Scott deleted the data and one test updated the data. Everybody is clear, please? Yes or no? Please, yes or no? Please let me know. Okay. So now select star from emp audit log, select update on emp to test. Now, okay, so now I'm updating salary. Update, please observe this one. Update emp set salary is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where department number is equal to 10. So I'm updating a salary with this value. So the sorry. Value larger than specified precision is allowed for this column. And here I am not able to update salary column with this value. So my update operation is failed. My update operation is failed. Let's see whether my trigger inserted a record successfully or not. My update operation failed. So here 2 records only because my update attempt did not record it. Why? Why it is not inserted a record into table? Here my update operation is failed. Trigger did not fail. Here my update operation is failed. Why trigger failed? See, here my update operation is failed. And why trigger is failed? No. See what I told. Trigger and your statement executes together. If a trigger fail, your statement is going to fail. If a statement fail, trigger is also going to fail, right? See, trigger, I told you in the last class and today's class. So trigger and statement executes together. So that means if a trigger fails, if a statement fails, so then trigger is fail. Okay, if a trigger body fails, then your statement is also going to fail. Fails. So then what can I do? Okay, say I don't want to fail the trigger body. So whether my insert statement or update statement or delete statement, whether the statement is successful or not, I want to insert a record into this table. See, please observe carefully. I don't want the dependency whether my trigger is going to successful or not. Okay, whether my statement, this update statement is success or not, I want this log this insert value compulsory. Even though my update failed, I want to record in the table. Even my insert fails, I want to record in the table. What can I do? Okay, so now see, now simply I can execute with a commit. Whether my insert statement, I can do a inserting into table with a commit. So the commit means this statement is going to successful. I want to make this. Okay, so now if this update statement fails, what is happening? Whatever operation you did in the trigger is also failing. So now I want to make it a commit inside a trigger. Let's see. So trigger compiled. So the trigger created with a commit. Trigger created with commit. Please observe carefully. So trigger created successfully with commit. So now whenever I'm updating the salary, it says that execution of a trigger. What is the trigger? Attempted to commit or roll back. Cannot commit in a trigger. Cannot commit in a trigger. Okay, so we cannot issue a commit in a trigger because the trigger and the statements are together. So here created with a commit successfully, but fails during the execution. Execution with commit in trigger. So what is the statement meaning? This means I can create a trigger with a commit, but can I issue a commit in a trigger? No. If anybody asks you, can I execute a trigger with the commit or rollback? You can create it, but it will fail during your trigger execution because I cannot make inside a commit. Commit means what are we doing here? Commit means we are committing the transaction. What transaction we are committing? We are transacting the current transaction. That means The trigger and your statement are together is a current transaction. Trigger and statements are together a current transaction. We are trying to insert data into trigger, so which is wrong. So now the trigger body plus your statement are part of a single transaction. So if we commit in a trigger, its statement affects it. That's why I cannot issue a commit or a rollback in a single transaction. So then how can I do it? So then what can we do? So here we have it. So if we separate trigger body and statement into two different transactions, so then we can issue a commit inside a trigger. So if we separate the trigger body and statement into two different transactions, then we can issue a commit. Okay, so that means if you issue a commit in the trigger, it should not affect your statement. We have to do like this. So we can separate it, the transactions, and two different transactions. How can I do it? So this can be done using the pragma autonomous transaction. Pragma autonomous transaction. Using this, so we can separate a trigger body into different transaction. If you issue a commit or a rollback in the trigger body, it should not affect your main statement. This can be done using a pragma autonomous transaction. Let's see. So what is the use of a pragma autonomous transaction? Pragma autonomous transaction is to separate the trigger body. So here we have to write this in the declare section. That's it. We don't have to do any other stuff. Compile the trigger compile. So now how it will treat? It treats trigger and statement. So the trigger, the complete trigger as an independent transaction. If you issue a commit or rollback in the trigger body, it affects up to this trigger only. So now I'm executing this update statement. Even though this update statement is going to fail. Okay, so now this update is failed. Okay, so this update is failed because having the value larger than. Now if you execute the select audit, so now I have two records. A record inserted. Even though if your update statement fail, your trigger gets successful because of separating the transaction into independent transaction. This is called as the pragma autonomous transaction. What is the pragma autonomous transaction? Pragma autonomous transaction is to differentiate the trigger into, or trigger, not only trigger, okay, or a calling program into different transaction, or child transaction, without affecting the main one. If you issue a commit or a rollback, it should affect that particular part only. It should not affect your main transaction. Everybody is clear? Yes or no, please? Everybody is clear about the pragma autonomous transaction. So the same pragma autonomous transaction can be used in procedures and functions also. So if you're calling a function, so this pragma autonomous transaction can be used in these procedures also. functions also. That means, see here, if you are calling a procedure from another procedure, if you want to issue a commit or rollback in the another procedure, if you don't want to affect the calling program, then we can use the pragma autonomous transaction. The pragma autonomous transaction is main aim is to split the operations into two different transactions. If you make a commit or rollback in one transaction, it affects that only in that transaction only without affecting the another one. Everybody is clear? And so whenever you declare a procedure or a function as a pragma autonomous transaction, compulsory we have to issue a commit or rollback. Okay, if you declare a procedure, a function or a trigger as autonomous transaction, so then compulsory we have to issue a commit or a rollback in that body. Compulsory. This is mandatory. If anybody asks you, can I create a procedure with pragma autonomous transaction without commit or rollback? No, because you are defining that as an independent transaction. That independent transaction should be committed or rollbacked. The transaction should be commit or rollback. Okay, everybody. Yes or no, please? Yes or no, please? Okay, today I'm stopping here. Tomorrow we are going, sorry. So one student has some issues with, okay, let me first stop the recording. Anybody have any issues, please?